Good morning. I'm Carl with the Hondo Public Library. In a week from the time this video airs, we will observe the United States' newest federal holiday, Juneteenth, which has been called America's Second Independence Day. What is the significance of June 19th, and how does it tie into Texas history? Let's answer these questions today on this chapter of Monday Memories. To explain the origin of Juneteenth, we have to start at the end of the American Civil War. On April 9th, 1865, Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered his troops to Union General Ulysses S. Grant. In the following days, many other generals followed suit, and the Confederate government was dissolved a month later, on May 9th, 1865. But even with these massive surrenders and the end of Confederate government, hostilities were still not over, and slavery still held out. 250,000 people, a quarter of a million, remained enslaved in Texas by 1865, where the Army of the Trans-Mississippi still held control of the land, under the command of Edmund Kirby Smith. It wasn't until a month later that Smith officially surrendered all Confederate forces in the Trans-Mississippi Department on June 2nd, 1865. More federal troops arrived to secure the region and begin the peacemaking process. On the morning of June 19th, 1865, Union Major General Gordon Granger arrived on the island of Galveston to take control of these federal troops. Granger's men marched throughout Galveston reading out General Order No. 3, a military order that enforced the Emancipation Proclamation within the newly occupied Texas, informing the public that all slaves in Texas were finally free. Galveston rejoiced at the announcement. A year after the announcement, on June 19th of 1866, freedmen in Texas organized the first of what became the annual celebration of Jubilee Day. Due to segregation laws, not many public spaces were available to host Juneteenth celebrations. In 1872, a group collected more than $800 to buy 10 acres of open land near what is now Houston to use for annual Juneteenth celebrations. The group named the parcel of land Emancipation Park. It was acquired by the city of Houston in 1916, and in the era of segregation, it was the only park in Houston available to the black community. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the Jim Crow laws caused many upper-class African Americans to want to distance themselves from their slave pasts. Economic struggles brought on by the Great Depression left lower-class African Americans in a position where getting time off for Juneteenth was hard. In addition, many of the younger generations who were more distant from slavery occupied themselves with school and other pursuits. From a combination of all these factors, the holiday declined. Juneteenth eventually saw a revival in the mid-20th century as civil rights leaders began tying the struggles of the era to that of ending slavery. In 1974, Houston began holding large-scale celebrations again, and Fort Worth followed the next year. In 1979, Democratic State Representative Al Edwards of Houston successfully sponsored the legislation to make Juneteenth a paid Texas state holiday. Texas established Juneteenth as a state holiday in 1980, becoming the first state to do so. By 2002, 8 states had officially recognized Juneteenth. By 2008, this figure had risen to about half of the states, and by 2021, all states except for South Dakota had recognized the holiday. The celebration became a federal holiday when President Biden declared it one on June 17th of 2021. Making it the first new federal holiday since the declaration of Martin Luther King Day in 1983. So how is Juneteenth observed? Celebrations include picnics, rodeos, street fairs, cookouts, family reunions, park parties, historical reenactments, blues festivals, and Miss Juneteenth contests. Traditions include public readings of the Emancipation Proclamation, singing traditional songs, and reading of works by noted African American writers, as well as lectures and exhibitions on African American culture. The modern holiday places much emphasis upon teaching about African American heritage, accompanied by voter registration efforts, the performing of plays, and retelling of stories. Not all history is pretty or fun. Some of it, like slavery, is awful, but we have to talk about the dark chapters of this nation's past, remember the mistakes of our forebears in order to guide our decisions towards making a better future for us and our descendants. Thank you all for watching, and have a happy Juneteenth.